All right, guys, welcome back to the next edition of Meet the Candidate. And on tonight's program, we have incumbent Sandra Golden, and she is running for re-election in Akfvske District Seat B. Sandra, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
So, guys, tonight I'm going to try to get through the chat questions before I go to the email questions. The first question that we have in the chat is about the Freedman case, and I have some questions on here too, so I'm just going to ask them all as one big chunk. Oh, so I'm sorry. Ms. Golden, let me give you a couple of minutes to talk about yourself and why you're running for re-election before we jump into the questions. I forgot to do that. So go ahead, take some time and to tell the audience who you are and why you're running for re-election.
Okay, I'm Sandra Golden from Willika. I am running for 4 more years for re-election. I've been on here since January 2022. I'm Deer Clan. My church is Springfield Methodist. I live in the country. I have one son and one granddaughter, and probably by Friday I'll have another granddaughter. We're waiting to see what happens. Um, I graduated from Thomas High School. I have an AA degree from Bacone College. I have a bachelor degree from Weatherford, Southwestern State, and I got a master's degree in public health from the University of California at Berkeley. I have 30 plus years work experience in different kind of programs. Worked with 5 national organizations before I moved back home in 1995. My mom was diabetic, and she wouldn't let him take her leg off, so I had to choose, which was okay. And I had tried to move back and work with the nation several times, but never got hired. So, but be what it is, life changes and there's lots of challenges. But I did get on the council back in 2000. I served 2 terms. I adopted a little boy, and he became my priority as well as my mom. So the reason that I sought being on the council is because I thought that I could make a contribution. I saw a lot of elders and not getting services. A lot of our youth, we don't invest in them per se. We're doing better than we used to. Uh, my platform is simply about people, the Muskogee people. My priority are the elders and the young people, because we have to protect the elders and we have to invest in our young people. So um, I'm all about being real and being in the communities.
Alrighty. So the first question here is about the Freedman case, but I've got a couple of questions about that too. So I'm just going to put the email questions together with the chat question. So the first question I have is, has the election board or any other governmental body instructed you not to speak about the MCN Supreme Court's decision in the Freedman case?
Well, we have been told that it is still in litigation, and that we, per se, we really can't discuss the case. I guess we did, since we got the decision from the Supreme Court, we did file a, I, we filed something. It had to be done in so many days, and we just got an answer today that it was denied.
Yes, that's a
And
petition for the
there
rehearing.
there are meetings going on now. Yeah, to find out what recourse do we have, and what's our next move, and that's being discussed now with the administration and the top people from our national council.
Okay. When you were told not to speak about it
So
because
did
it's,
that answer your question?
well, partially, when you were told not to speak about it because there's ongoing litigation, who told you to do that? And like, was it the AG or?
No, it was our speaker because he and he's in with the meetings with the administration, and you know, there's attorneys and so on. We have an attorney for the National Council as well, so I really wasn't sure what the I was at a community meeting actually when the speaker said we're really not we really can't speak on anything because it's still in litigation. So yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well, my next question is, can you give your opinion on the decision?
well, I don't know if I can give an opinion on the decision. I did from the very beginning. I went to the court case, and I saw the the attorney that for the Freedman, and you know, of course, our AG was there, and then we lost that case, and so of course I was asking questions, and my understanding is that um, there were things that we probably should have done from the beginning, and we didn't, and um, we can't add them in as we go up the chain. If we lose and then we appeal it, we can't add any more information on there. We just have to go with what we presented in the first place. So, without going any further on that, I felt like there were things that could have been or should have been put in there, but I'm not an I um, I'm uh, I'm surprised, I guess, that we did lose the case, and of course now I'm getting a lot of questions from citizens. You know, okay, so what does this mean for us? Well, we're not really not sure. I don't think we've really thought about it enough. Does that mean that the freedmen can just come in and we're automatically going to give them a citizenship card? Well, it wasn't to me. It wasn't our idea in the first place, but there are some other legal things that are involved in that. But just talking with other people, I'm saying I don't think that it would be fair to citizens if we just said, okay, you're a freedman, you're a citizen now, because everybody that's a citizen for the Muskogee Creek Nation has to have all of those documents to prove who they belong to, who they came from. And so I you know, just off the cuff, I would think that when or and if that happens, the those freedmen will have to do the same. They would have to go through a similar process or the same process. Yeah.
Okay. And then we've had I want to finish up with the question that's in the chat. David Ware is asking, the question is, what good is a constitution if it doesn't govern our sovereignty?
What good of is it? Yeah. Well, uh, we have a constitution and we have to have it because that's what we have to go by. But when you say what good is it? Well, it's always going to be challenged, and we know that we can update it. We can change it because things in this world changes, and so there's some things in our constitution that we need to take a look at, and I think when we changed it before, that was the first time that we had done the change, and so there was lots of things that to me were missing, and I believe we should do that again, and we should really be able to involve all of the citizens and let them have the utmost participation to do that with, because when you do something and you change from the top down, most of the time it doesn't work very well, and then you have a document that has some gaps in it, and I'm understanding that's what the Supreme Court said about this Freedman case, is that there were some holes in our Constitution, and um, that's what they used to say it wasn't any good.
Okay. We've had a question here. T.Y. Prohl asks, will you support council legislation to stay the decision until the federal courts reach a decision in the Ron Graham citizenship case?
The Ron Graham citizenship case. Um, Of the two that I think it's Grayson and there's another, but I don't remember Ron Graham being in there, you know.
Well, he's speaking about a federal case that Ron Graham has filed at the federal level. But if you're not familiar with it,
I'm not
it's
familiar with
okay.
that. No,
All
I'm
right.
not.
I want to let you guys know we'll ask any questions you pop in the chat that are related to the Creek Nation and everything. And so you guys can pop your questions in there, but I don't see any questions there right now. So I'm going to go down my list of email questions I've gotten from citizens. This next question is, the Muskogee are a nation, not a race of people. Do you agree or disagree? If you disagree, could you explain?
I agree. We're not a race. I mean, uh, it. I guess it just depends on who you talk to on the outside. And so, as a sovereign nation, we decide who we are, and we name ourselves. But in the past, we've said, okay, well, let Columbus tell us who we are, and we've had that fight forever, you know. And so, I'll just stop there.
Oh, all right. The next question is, do you think the blood quantum requirement for office or chartered community boards needs to be changed?
I agree that it needs to be changed. I also believe that we just can't just say, okay, we're just going to just leave it open and just change it and say, okay, it's going to be this, because we have to think about why it's that in the first place. And then we have to do some research about the people that are in our in our in our tribe, in our nation. I used to work in with other tribes in New Mexico, for example. The Pueblo said you have to, in order to be on the council, you have to be male, you have to be at least 18, and you serve on that or until you do something that you get kicked off. But if you move off the reservation, you are no longer a tribal member and you don't get any services from them. So, or if you marry outside of the Pueblo, then you are not a member anymore. So I said, well, that limits your population. You know, this was back in the 70s. And so I'm saying, well, what's going to happen to your tribe if everybody starts moving off? Because people move because of their education, they move for jobs, employment. They go in and they want to experience other uh, cultures, and so they stay there, and it's okay until you and figure out a way to come back and be a part of the tribe. You're excommunicated. And so I've thought about that for us, for our tribal nation, because it is we started with the quarter blood, but that was because of the government that said that certain things you have to be a quarter blood to own property. Um, there was education, and so again, we've been colonized to believe, those kinds of things. And it's just like what I'm trying to say. When you change something, you have to look at the what it's going to affect us in the next 7 generations. Are we still
Mm-hmm.
going to be here? Are we still going to be here?
Right.
And so I would say, yes, we need to change it, but we need to look down and look far and see what the effect is going to be in those 7 generations, because we still want to be here.
Okay. The next question here on my list is, are you a citizen of any federally recognized tribal town?
No, no.
Okay.
Uh, I know my tribal town is Akfvske, and I'm right up there. I'm within their boundaries, if you will. The casino that they have is 5 miles from me, and so they are federally recognized, but from my grandpa's side, but
Okay.
not from my mom's.
Do you think dual enrollment in a federally recognized tribal town is a conflict of interest, where you have situations where somebody is maybe the chief or on the council of a federally recognized tribal town, and they're also on the Creek Nations Council?
Well, they say that our Constitution says we have to recognize people from tribal towns. But I say when they sought federal status, they became a federally recognized status, then they became another tribe. But we have nothing in our laws, in our constitution, that says once you do that, then you have to secede, and we don't have the procedure to do that. And I've been saying that we needed to do that for some time, because I can see the dual uh, citizenship problem that exists in, especially in this district, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
it separates families. Uh, but I think that once we figure out, that this needs to be done, we can sit down at the table and we can do that. Uh, of course, we're going to have differences of opinion, but I think we could come to some common ground, and we can agree that we need to separate, and this is the best way to do it with all of us involved.
Okay. Um, Now, along those lines, a related issue is the legislation that Senator Mullen has concerning UK being the Cherokee Nation.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion about
Yeah,
that?
my phone's been ringing off the wall, both phones today. So, um, and I talked to a gentleman earlier this afternoon, and basically what he said, he says, well, no matter what I say, you're not going to agree with me anyway. So I said, I'm getting another call, so we hung up. Then he called back and he apologized for that,
Hmm.
and I go, well, it's okay, because uh, people from the outside are saying, either we support it or we don't. But when it came through the committee, and I'm on that committee, I had lots of questions. But we have some rules on our committee that there's so many questions that you can ask, and you can only ask two, and then if nobody else has anything, the chairman says, okay, let's vote. So I reluctantly voted yes, but I didn't feel comfortable about it, because I said I really don't understand it. It appears that it's for one tribe over another one, and I said we shouldn't be supporting one tribe over another one. It appears that there's some difficulties, there's some differences of that's going on, and if we say we're supporting this, then we're supporting one tribe, and we should not be doing that. Now, if it's about Senator Mullins' draft legislation, then this resolution should say we are against the legislation that you're doing that separates these two federally recognized tribes, because it is about sovereignty, and we are a sovereign nation. But we do not want to get in that dogfight. I don't want to call it a dogfight, but
Right.
if those, because the same thing could happen to us. Another congressman could say, okay, we're going to do this. But in my militant thinking, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
um, these government agencies and their agents have done this to us forever, because they want our land, they want our resources, and they throw us little bones and we fight over them. And until we see that, we're going to be fighting each other, and that's what this is about. So the resolution to I agree that we need to support sovereignty, but this resolution doesn't need to be to support one over the other. It needs to be against somebody like Mark Wayne Mullen.
Okay. Alrighty. The next question here is, what is your opinion about the district voting amendment that's going to be on the ballot? Are you for it or against it? And if so, why?
Well, I will tell you that I haven't really been for it, and I really haven't been against it. I've asked people, and I've listened to lots of people, in the community, and a lot of people in my district. They say they're for district voting, but I'm a representative for all Creek citizens, whether they're on the reservation or whether they're in my district or not, because people call me from all over, and one of the reasons they called me from all over is because I used to live all over, so I know lots of people. But and the questions that, or maybe not the questions, the comments that people say in this district or in another district, we want to go back to district voting. And the reason is, well, we don't know those people that are running in Tulsa district. We don't know those people that are running in Okmulgee district, but we know know who's in our who's our representative, and that's who we want to vote for. The people that are off the reservation and live in other towns and cities and states, they say the same thing. We don't know those people. We don't know who they are. We just know those names, and we just have to go down the list and guess. We're not really connected to know who's representing us. And so, to me, when we say just the district, and we're only accountable to those people in the district. I think we should be accountable to all people, all citizens. And so the only way we can do that is to include the people all over. And we just have to do a better job at communicating with people. I don't just go to the meetings in my district. I try to make all of the district meetings if it, and all of the they call them the outreach to the people who live in other states. When we've had those, I've attended all of them. And some of them I can drive to if it's easier for and less expensive. I drive to and go visit. Because I represent them too. So I don't know what's going to happen, but whichever way it is, I'm still going to respond to and um, represent all citizens.
Okay. We had a question pop up while we were talking about that. T.Y. Pearl's asking, will you support a national council resolution to appeal the Bigler decision on dual citizenship in federally recognized tribal towns under the Oklahoma Indian Welfare Act to the Mvskoke Creek Nation Supreme Court?
Well, I'm not familiar with that, so I can't say whether I'll support it or not. But
Well, sorry to interrupt, but I'll just give it to you in a nutshell. That there was a candidate in the past that had dual citizenship, Jeremiah Hobaya, and his candidacy was challenged at the Creek Nation, and there was a district court ruling that Judge Bigler gave that said that because he's a member of a tribal town and we have a historical connection, that it doesn't apply to tribal towns. That decision's never been appealed to the Supreme Court. So what T.Y. Pearl's asking is, would you support passing a tribal resolution to appeal that particular decision to the Supreme Court to see what the Supreme Court says?
well, I can't say just I would support it. I would look at it, and I would be willing to if that warranted. But I do remember that, and I didn't get all the information about it.
Okay.
But again, I whether I support something or whether I oppose it, I want to know the ramifications and how it affects down the road. What's going to happen 7 years from now or 7 generations? How's it going to impact us then? You
Okay.
know, I agree. I do agree that we do need some different laws that again to if we had those things in place, we would not have this problem, but we've never put them in place. And to me, when we put those in place, we would not have that difficulty trying to figure out. And again, it pits us against each other,
Okay.
and that's the concern I have on that.
Alrighty. The next question has popped up in here in chat. David Ware is asking, would you support an exemption to allow citizens beyond the boundaries to vote in all districts because we have a vested interest?
In all districts, I'm not sure I understand voting
Uh,
in all.
I think what he's asking is that if you would support adding an exemption to the amendment to say that if you're an at-large citizen, you can vote for all the districts.
Um, right off the cuff, I'd say probably. You know, again, that to me, I'm hearing we have districts, and here's the deal: because people who live outside the boundaries, like I did for so many years, I lived in California, I lived in Kansas, I lived in Wisconsin, I lived in New Mexico, and so, but I knew where I came from. But when I lived in these other places, there were families there because of the relocation back in the early 40s and 50s. And so people, their families, they were out in California and they've never been back to their tribal towns. They don't know where they belong or their districts. And so um, when they said, "Well, where do you come from? Where's your?" Well, we don't know. but it's because they haven't had that connection, and we're just now making those connections, and people are saying, yeah, we want to be a part of our nation, but we don't know who we are because we've never been connected. And so right now, because it's there's I guess you say there's so much interconnect, they're not connected, that I would support the idea that, yeah, if they want to vote wherever they can, because that would get them connected.
Okay. Jesse Deer asks, I'd like to know why you, as the current council rep, along with others, have not voted for a no confidence in the current Deputy Attorney General Wisner, who was put up for and denied confirmation.
Um, to me, we have bigger fish to be concerned about. That is something that the chief has said, this is the person that he wants, whether we like it or not, whatever. I think we've voted that current person down 2 or 3 times. And so, I mean, to me, it's kind of a waste of time, and there's other fights that we really need to be fighting, and that's why I haven't done it. I'm just saying, if the chief says that's part of what he wants and that's his nomination, then that's just going to be it.
Okay. I don't see another question up there. We're approaching 30 minutes, and that's around where we normally wrap up. I've got a question here on my list, so if you guys got a question, you need to get it into chat as soon as you can, because we only got a couple of more minutes here left. But one of the email questions I have here is, will you sponsor or support legislation putting constitutional amendments on the ballot to require term limits and to require judges to stand for votes of retention by the people periodically during regular election cycles?
Mm-hmm. So that's like 2 questions to me.
Yeah, term limits, I guess I would handle term limits, and then I would talk about the judges.
Yeah. So for me, of course, again, there are no term limits right now. But for me, if I can do 2 terms, I feel like I've made I've done the best that I could do in 2 terms, and I don't think I could do more than that. That's my contribution. I'm ready to step aside and let new blood come in, because they're probably, hopefully, they're going to do a better job than me, and they're going to work just as hard as I have for these 8 years, or however. And but when we don't have lines, people just abuse them, whatever. And so I agree that yeah, we do need to put something in writing, and we do need to do something about making term limits. And as far as the judges, we have a ways to go with that, because of the McGirt decision. We've not organized our Justice Department to accommodate what's really in store. So we've got some old laws that we need to change, because we've got some requirements that we don't need anymore. And we've really got to look at that. That again goes back to our Attorney General, and how aggressive they are, or him or her are, in making those moves. And it's a lot of work. And we were promised that we were going to get those things, but we haven't gotten them. And so I think we need. Somebody's at my door. I think it's my brother. Yeah. So yeah, we really do. And that's another area, I think, when we approach these kinds of things, we have to have some work sessions where we're all can agree on some things. And right now we've got people saying, oh no, this is the most important thing. No, this is the most important thing. So when you have that, you don't get any support for any of it.
All righty. Well, we are right at 30 minutes. We've had one question pop up here I'm going to ask. David Ware is asking, So if Chief can deny affirmation by the National Council, can he also deny a ruling by the Supreme Court?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
He can say it, but I don't think it's yeah. We don't have a process for that. So, but we
Okay.
do for he can come back and if we pass something, he can veto it. But that's our laws, but not the Supreme Court because that's a third our third branch of government.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we are at 30 minutes, and I don't see a question here. I do want to thank you, Ms. Golden, for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure the audience appreciates it with all the questions they've asked you. And
Well, I appreciate the questions. I really do, and I like some of the things that I thought about them, but I hadn't thought about them in depth. You know, and so I will say it at times it is difficult for me because I see things differently than a lot of people, and I guess because I'm older, I don't know. When I was younger, I would not pick fights, but I would jump in the fight and I would do it. But maybe now that I have a grandchild and I'm looking down the road, what are we going to leave for our children? And what do I want when my granddaughter follows me around? What do I want her to see? I want her to see that she's proud of who she is. There's somewhere she belongs in this nation, not just in this world, but she's a native person. She's Mvskoke, and there's always going to be a place for her here.
great. All right. Well, guys, coming up tomorrow at 3 p.m., we have James Factor. And then on Friday the 22nd at 6 p.m., we have J.R. Wind. And we have a full schedule of every interview that's coming up in the future on our Facebook page if you want to go check that out. And then with that being said, thank you again, Ms. Golden, for joining us. Thank you to you guys out there in the audience for tuning in and asking such great questions. And we will see you at the next Meet the Candidate. Mado, Hadam, Chihichat, Lees.